The Padres signed an extension for Yu Darvish for $108 million over 6 years. Is it a good deal or bad? And are Manny and Soto next? We'll talk about all of that in this episode of Padres Talking Padres. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Padres Talking Padres. Your dad's talking about the Padres.
That was a good dad joke.
All right. So, just announced a couple hours ago that it's not officially announced by the Padres yet, but Yu Darvish and the Padres are in agreement to an extension for 6 years, $108 million, lowering his AAV from $21 million a year to $18 million. Even though I'm also seeing that it's going to be front loaded. So I think $30 million in his first year. Initial reports in the offseason where he wanted to actually have a more short-term deal, a la Verlander and Scherzer with the Mets. But clearly, both sides are able to work it out, spread it out, lower the tax hit. And now just another piece that could have gone to free agency after this year is locked in. Arguably the best pitcher we've had the past couple of years is going to be a Padre until he's 75. Jack, what are your initial thoughts here?
Well, my first thought was, okay, 6 years?
Mm-hmm.
How old is this dude going to be when he's done? I'm like
43.
But I looked at the contract. But no, it's a bargain.
Yeah.
If he pitches well, I say 3 or 4 years because the back end of the contract is not as steep.
Yeah.
And I think he can go at least 3 or 4 more years. He just has to pitch. He didn't even have to pitch like he did last season. Just has to be steady, consistent in the starting rotation. Yeah. So at first I was like, because I think you text me, 6 years.
Yeah, we were texting back and forth. I can read the text. We were like, that is the stupidest idea in the history of ideas. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah. I pretty much that's what I said. But actually, there's some people on Twitter saying that Preller's an idiot, and I'm like going, well, I go because at the end the contract would be what, about 9, 10 million, 11 million the last couple of years,
something
maybe?
like that. Yeah.
Okay, in today's standards, that's a huge bargain.
Yeah, I
mean, even if he only wins like 8 or 9 games his final year, that's what you're paying guys $30 million to do that now.
Yeah.
So, and I know he has a lot of mileage on him. He pitched a lot in Japan. He's pitched a lot here, but he seems to have no issues. So, and he's a steady contributor, whatever I'm trying to say.
You said it, but contributor. Yeah.
Okay, but I think they're obviously shuffling money around so they can get the rumor is that they want to get Manny an extension. During spring training. And then that leaves Soto, and I'm sure after giving up all those players. And it's Soto being 24 years old and one of the best players in baseball, they want to keep him.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, they've said as such, right?
Right.
So let's finish talking about that, though, because I do think it's a big part of this, or at least as part of conversations on the internet for whatever that's worth. But Darvish, I do really like this deal. Like you said, Jack, it gives them more cap space to work with because you lowered what was his AAV this season. And again, he could have walked after this season, but really think about what you would have had to spend for some other pitcher that is going to pitch as well as Darvish probably will in the next 3 or 4 years. And it's just like, who are you going to get for $18 million?
It's because people freaked out when Musgrove got his $100 million contract for 5 years. They're like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. Well, look at it now.
Yeah.
Scherzer, not Scherzer.
Verlander
got what? Yeah, over 2 years though. Isn't it? It's
2 years.
Did he get like 100?
Yeah,
43 per year.
Yeah,
it's like 86. I mean, that's 2 years for a 40-year-old pitcher.
Yeah.
So the Musgrove, because the contracts and Padres are part of the problem.
Sure.
If you want to look at it that way, they're part of the problem of escalating the contracts.
That's what I argue. They're part of the problem for the cheap owners that want to cry, poor, when these baseball teams make a lot of money. And people aren't buying the whole, well, I'm a small market team, so I can't afford. It's like, no, it still makes mints a lot of money.
I think they make money, but I think there's still some cities that it's one of those things where they can afford it. But we finally got an owner with deep pockets, and I think he has a big ego. And I think he wants to build. I think he wants to be the guy.
Ego, but I think it's also just he's a baseball guy.
Right.
And and who wouldn't want? I mean, just look at the reception that he got at the Padres Fan Fest, where they're chanting Peter, Peter. I mean, like if you're a billionaire, and he said it's like, I can't take it with me. Like, why wouldn't you want to?
Well, he could leave some to me.
He's beloved in the city of San Diego. If he brings
I think what I'm saying about ego is, he comes from the O'Malley family.
Sure, exactly.
Right? And that's a famous baseball family. That's exactly. I mean, you look at Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner, is as much of a pain in the butt he was, and kind of a joke he was. You remember George Steinbrenner?
Yeah.
Well, Seidler's going, hey, I got the money. I'm gonna take. I could take these Padres.
Yeah.
Build a dynasty.
Yep.
I'm not saying winning the World Series every year, but one World Series would be a dynasty for San Diego. Well, but if you build a team that's competitive every single season, and you're putting money into the team, well, isn't he going to be remembered? I mean, I always remember Ray Kroc because he saved the Padres.
They're going to put a statue of the guy. Like, he's going to be out there with Tony Gwynn. Peter Seidler's going to be out there.
And Seidler not, because Ray Kroc, a lot of people don't remember he used to own the Padres.
Sure.
Unless you're from San Diego. Seidler, if he's successful at this, he will be remembered forever in the baseball world, and maybe he makes the Hall of Fame someday.
Well, I mean, people are already talking about it now, right? I mean, Steve Cohen, far more, but he has 17. The difference between 17 billion and 3 billion is a lot. But both of them, Seidler and Cohen, are basically, ticking off all the other owners. But I love Cohen. I think it was that interview. Was it ESPN? I can't remember I think it was ESPN. Basically was like, well, if you have a problem, it's not me that you should be upset. It's you should be upset with, right? Like, and the thing is, even just the revenue sharing alone, from what I understand, is somewhere like every team just gets $100 million a year once you account for all the revenue sharing type stuff. There's teams that roll out $30 million payrolls so it's just the not spending is a joke. And Seidler and Cohen are kind of just basically showing everybody else up. And if you can't afford to pay, then sell your team, make $1 billion, and go live happily somewhere.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I always believe there should be a cap, but it's never going to happen in baseball. So if it's not going to happen, screw it. I'm glad I finally got an owner that's going all in.
I think I'd rather have spinning floor. Like, you can't just pocket money.
Well, what I've said this before. What should happen if you should have a salary cap, but also, like you're saying, a floor.
Yeah.
Unless you finish over 500, then it doesn't matter what you spend.
Sure.
But if you're under 500, maybe you go. Like I said, if you're under 500 for 5 straight seasons, you lose some of the money. If you're not spending a certain amount, then you lose part of the revenue sharing. Yeah. You lose it. So there's got to be an incentive for these teams to spend money. I mean, we all as a Padre, anyone listening here is obviously a Padre fan.
Sure.
We know how much it sucked.
Yeah.
To be a fan with some of the owners we've had.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I mean, Manny Machado, Juan Soto, Yu Darvish, Fernando Tatis, all these different players that we have, Bogarts, that never would have happened years ago. I mean, it happened under Kroc and a little bit under Moore's, but the other owners, it was like, no, let's have a fire sale. I mean, fire sale. I think the Padres invented the term fire sale.
Yeah.
And it was terrible. And it was like, okay, I need to be loyal to the team.
Yeah.
Which I was, but it was like, it's why?
What I do like the shift in the perception was it was all, and I was guilty of this too back then. It's like, oh, well, the players are greedy. They just want money. But then you think, I was like, well, yeah, wouldn't you want to get paid more money? Like, what? Like I'm not gonna...
I was never against the players. That's like, hey, if I had the talent, I'm gonna.
But I would say like, oh, but we can never spend that much money because we're in a small market. Like I fell into that mindset. And what I love about what Seidler has done is it's broken that mindset, right? It's just saying, screw that. If you have an owner that cares and maybe doesn't want to pocket as much money.
Well, the Rockies owner came out and it was complaining, but he signed Chris Bryant.
Yes.
To that terrible contract.
Awful.
For $167 million over 6 or 7 years.
More than he would have paid Arenado, who was a homegrown superstar.
Yeah, and who's probably the second best third baseman in baseball behind Manny Machado.
Absolutely.
But again, you went out and poured all that money to him, who had a history. Because I know when the Padres were talking about getting him, I said, no, he's always hurt. And you just there's just players. I mean, people say they're just injury prone.
Yeah,
I think it's just once you start getting hurt, you're more prone to getting hurt
because you have to compensate, and that puts more stress in the parts of your body, and then all kind of snowballs, right?
Your body can only take so much.
Yeah,
and I think Chris Bryant has just had a history of it. And when I heard that contract, I said, "Oh my God!" Like you said, why not just keep Arenado, which would have made the Rocky fans happy?
Didn't he pay like $50 million to the Cardinals as well? Like the Cardinals aren't even picking up all of his tab,
right?
Which is crazy.
I know,
okay, so we've got Yu Darvish. I think this is a good move. You put extend the foundation for our rotation, which is good.
And you have to keep these pitchers because there's not a lot of pitchers in the farm system now.
We kind of need to spend a lot of money for 5 years, but who knows if they'll keep our prospects that long. But we need a little extra time for these people to kind of ramp up. But another part of this, Jack, or at least what I found fascinating with this announcement, because I think is it Adam Jones,
former Oriole from San Diego.
Yes, he said, he tweeted yesterday, it was like, big news incoming. And the thought was that was going to be the Manny extension.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then
maybe it will be.
Maybe Ken Rosenthal also did an article on The Athletic talking about how 5 reasons why Manny will probably stay.
Wait, isn't that the same guy that had us getting Scherzer?
Maybe. But it's interesting to see two sides of this. I've seen some people say, "Oh, well, they spent that money on Darvish. You can't get Soto or Machado now." Even it's hilarious seeing all of the Dodger fans. I saw some Dodgers account be like, "Oh, they're not going to keep Machado now," and they had the Machado in his Dodger jersey when he played for them for 2 months. Does this mean that, or is this more likely that Machado will get an extension, or less likely that it'll get an extension now that we signed Darvish?
Well, I think why the reason Darvish stayed, remember he wanted a shorter contract with,
more.
I think these players are looking, going, hey, this guy wants to win, and I want to be, San Diego's not a bad place to live, not a bad place to, great stadium, great fans, and I think people want to play in San Diego now. It's not that thing where they, that we used to sign like Jake Peavy signed a huge contract. Oh, we got to trade him because what was the point of let's get him the San Diego discount, and then we'd screw those guys over. So eventually you couldn't do the San Diego discount because people said, hey, they're just going to trade me
anyway.
So I think I'm like 99% sure Manny stays. I think he loves it here. I know he was well liked in Baltimore.
Yes,
but LA fans treat him like crap.
Yeah,
and I don't see him leaving San Diego. He's I know Tatis is the face of baseball. I mean, even in FanFest.
I don't know about
well, I think he is because the kids you saw. I mean, they love him.
So that one, you see the video of the kid mistaking him for Manny?
Well, his mom said it.
Oh, really?
The mom said, "Okay, thank Mr. Machado, Manny," and Tatis handled Tatis. He's been saying all the right things. Let's just say that. Yes. And I think people, once he gets, he's always going to have the people like Dodger fans saying cheater, cheater, cheater. Again, he got caught when he wasn't playing.
Yeah.
I just think that's a difference, getting caught when you're not playing as opposed to when you are playing. But that's, No, neither here nor there. But I think Manny he's when you think of the Padres, he's the captain.
Oh yeah,
he's the guy. He's the guy that
yep.
the team. He's the leader. He's
He
the
literally
rah-rah
put
guy.
them on his back last season. Like we wouldn't have made it as far as we made it if he hadn't put them on their back.
Because Tatis, Tatis, it looks like he's grown up. I think he realized that he missed a whole year of his career, whole year of his career by doing something stupid with the motorcycle and being a kid. I mean, he's 20. He was 23, and I can almost remember being 23. But you're reckless, and I think he learned. He said, they could have won the World Series without him.
Yeah.
I mean, how would that have been if the Padres won the World Series without Tatis?
Mm-hmm.
That would have to hurt.
Yeah, I mean, it probably hurt. They made that far without him, right?
Right.
But, so you think Machado signs an extension?
I think he signs an extension.
Who knows? But I think so as well. But I do find it hilarious that Dodger fans who boo Machado relentlessly are like, oh well, we'll get Machado. Don't worry, he's coming back. He's like
I don't see him ever going back to LA.
Maybe the Mets like going to New York or something like that. But again, I think it was, or maybe it was Buster Only. It was just like I've never seen Machado so happy and kind of carefree as he is.
That's what I'm saying. He can walk in. He the fan again. He walks into the stadium. There's no one booing him.
Yeah.
And he's loved, and he walks in that dugout. It's like, okay, Manny's in charge.
Yeah,
this is Manny's team.
Do you? The Padres have never had a captain. Do you start the tradition, sign the extension, and give him the C on his jersey?
I'd give him a C.
Yeah.
He's again, he's the unofficial captain.
Yeah.
But I'd give him the honor like the Yankees did with Aaron
Judge.
I was trying to think of the name.
But okay, so Manny's extended.
Yes.
The conversation kind of before this extension was, can you do both? Could you do Machado extension and a Soto? I think Sealer does whatever the hell he wants. So like, don't like. I still think a Soto extension is possible as well.
The only problem with Soto is his agent.
Sure, he's got Scott Boras.
Yeah,
but again, you say I'll give you $500 million, or I'll give you $600 million for a 17-year deal. They're going to give Judge $440 over 14 years or something stupid like that. So
and he was already in his Judge is 30.
He's 31.
31.
So that would take him through his like age 44 season. So you're telling me Boras, like they'll say, hey, we'll give him $600 million over 17 years, whatever stupid thing like that. You're telling me he's not going to seriously consider. You're telling me Soto, if that kind of money has been presented to him, like that's a lot. That's not 440, which is what the Nats did, and the Nats, who at that point showed they're going to be a bad team for an extended period of time.
I don't know how you turned out $440 million.
But he wants to play on a winning team. Like
I get it, but someone throws $440 million to me, I'm like going.
Yeah. But he has to think that a good team will give him at least that much money.
Right.
Like
I think with Soto, it's almost if you can't sign him to extension before this year's out, then you have to consider trading him. And I know Padre fans it's just crazy because you need to you can't just let him walk. Especially if some of those players you trade to Washington develop into really good players.
I think James Wood is the one. Woods is the one. Look out
or Abrams. I mean, you can't. There's that panic thing where it's like, okay, but I think so. I think Soto. You can see he has a great time with Tatis, Machado, Bogarts. They were all goofing around. Cronenworth. It's a really tight knit team. I mean, they get Nelson Cruz was a big, especially
Nelly
for what
Cruz
we got him for.
Yeah.
They all seem to get along, and that has a lot to do. I think being happy, going with Manny Machado, I think being happy goes a long way too. Like you say, playing for a winner, playing for an owner that's going to keep putting money into the team. And I think
that is ravenous.
right. I mean,
Woodstock. Those pictures are like Wood. I honestly, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed going there because it looked a little too much, but
yeah,
it was a.
that's what I was. The people I follow on Twitter are all complaining, saying, "Oh, it's ridiculous! It's so crowded here," and you're kind of going, "Yeah, I wouldn't have gone either because it's too crowded. I can't. I don't like large crowds anymore." It's different going to sit when you're at a baseball game, but those people are just like packed like sardines, and I'm just like, okay, I can't. I'm old. I can't do that anymore. But I was great to see. I mean, I don't know how many fans were. I don't know how many fans were there.
The official was like 48,000, but that looked like more than 48,000.
Oh, it looked. It's like when the Chargers won the Super Bowl and they said, "Oh, it's 60,000." People said, "No, it was more like 90,000."
Yeah,
there were people outside the stadium who couldn't get in. So, it's and people saying, "Oh, the bandwagon fans." You know what? Welcome. Come on, because the more people buying hats, and shirts, and jerseys, and tickets, and I go, that's how you get Soto. And that's how you get a bigger radio contract. And that's how you get a bigger TV contract, TV deal. So, I know I was younger. I hated bandwagon fans. But now it's like, I understand the business. Come on in. Yeah,
let's go.
Come join us.
You're part. I mean, and again, it's not just Sealer spinning. Like, he has to look at this value of his franchise. He had, if they're a perennial contender, that has to only increase the value of the franchise, right?
Exactly. And look at what they did. They didn't have to do that. The players went out on the streets and were greeting fans. Juan Soto came up to a Dodger fan.
Yes.
The guy had a Dodger hat, and he took it and threw it off the gave a Padre hat. I mean, that's I tweeted. It was a shot at the former Chargers and the owners of the Chargers. I said, that's how you fight for a city.
Yeah,
that's how you. I mean, when you go out and you go to young fans, and you're out there, it's like I always said, it should be if I'm a player, an owner, because like Steve Garvey was always great about signing. Tony Gwynn would sign autographs. I mean, it's a big deal to sign autographs because not for the people that hawk it and all that different stuff that sell it, but for kids selling it because you got a fan for life.
Absolutely,
you do that. I said that's amazing. They didn't have to do that.
No.
You had FanFest coming up. They didn't have to. I mean, you're big. It was your big name stars going out there and greeting and your young players. You know, in the farm system.
Yeah,
I thought that was just amazing. I mean, unlike another team we used to have that did nothing like that.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly, and I think that's the. Again, we'll close on that. It's the difference between having good ownership and bad ownership. Chargers for years are well known as having a terrible ownership group.
They were takers.
And now the Padres have arguably one of the best.
Well, look at that; they're constantly improving Petco Park.
Yeah,
they're putting money into it. Yeah. How much money did Spanos put into the queue? Zero.
All right, well, Jack, I for one am excited. The Sealer's still spending money. Let's keep spending it. It's not mine, so keep on spending. And let's get Manny and as your name says right over there,
Manny Soto
and Soto next. I think so.
And again, pitchers and catchers report next week.
I know.
I can't believe that. It's just like, I'm so excited.
Is this the most anticipated season ever for the Padres?
It's hard to say because I know the '98 season people were really excited, but I think this is just on a different level because you look at the talent they have. It's not the Padres have never been the favorite going into a season.
Yep.
Ever.
Yep.
And you look at this team, and the only question mark is the starting pitching. The bullpen on paper is
lineup, starting like the
lineup. I mean, is loaded.
Sense,
But your starting pitching is the one question mark. But who knows? There could be Weathers could come through, or Maury Home could come through.
Trade for Ohtani.
Yeah, there you go. Well, they said we're the favorites on him anyway.
Exactly. All right. Well, on that note, we'll close out this episode of Padres Talking Padres. Hit the subscribe button and that bell icon. Season's coming up soon.
You can watch me dance.
Yeah, sure. Most anticipated season in Padres history. You heard it here. And we'll be covering all of it on.
And we're never wrong.
Until next time, hasta luego. And goodbye.
Arrivederci.